run in the direction that the average fan is going to run away from. That's kind of the way I like to do it now as we get into the meat of the season. And everybody here knows I'm a USC fan, and I'm going to be rooting for USC. And I can still root for USC, but I'm going to take Colorado in 21.5 points. And I'm going to tell you what.
Wow.
That's a very hard number for USC to cover in the spot. Several reasons. One, last week, that game's in Oregon. We all know, especially in college football and basketball, home field significantly improves any team with a little bit of talent. Okay, so Colorado's going to have a home crowd. It's a nationally televised game. To cover 21.5 points, you're going to need the same type of offensive output from Colorado. Colorado's got enough players and a good quarterback that I feel they're going to put up some points. Okay? If they put up 24 or 27 points, I mean, I got to think after what happened last week, they're going to play with a pride that does not allow USC to score 50 points. Okay?
Right.
That's where I'm going here. So I feel like, do I think – I'm not going to tell you I think USC is going to lose the game, but do I think this game could be 41-30, 41-28? Yeah, that's what I'm kind of looking for. And I just think 21.5 points is way too many points. Deion will have his kids ready to play, in my opinion.
My only concern here is this, and I wouldn't dare touch a Colorado game. I decided after that week 1 21-point upset, I'm not touching Colorado. I'm not messing with Deion and his motivational tactics and his ability to rally these guys. But the one thing I would be concerned with is that if USC is indeed better than Colorado, they are going to have in their head the score of that game last week against Oregon and be thinking about the whole common opponents thing down at the end of the road. And if they are indeed better, making a concerted effort to cover the number.
And I hear you there. The only reason I don't think that's as pertinent in this situation is they're going to play Oregon. So none of that's going to matter. At the end, they're going to settle on the field. So,
absolutely.
So I'm counting on Colorado to show some pride here and play like a team that should be focused this week in practice. USC is still the Alabama of the Pac-12. They get everybody's best shot. They're good now, so they're definitely going to get the best shot. But even when they stunk, they get everybody's best shot. Okay, so
can't argue with that.
Okay, next, I'm going to take a team I watched last Saturday night against USC. Now, Arizona State's an interesting team. They got shut out by Fresno State. They lost their top two quarterbacks in that game. That kind of sent that line up to 35 points because Arizona State's got some guys. They've got some athletes on that team. They have some injuries, but losing two quarterbacks in a game is very difficult. But when they played USC, this young coach, he was the Oregon play caller. He's 34 years old. Very impressed with him. I forget his name. I like what he's doing there. He has a starter, Drew Payne, who played at Notre Dame last year. Played well. Okay. He had a whole week to get ready for USC. He got creative. He had a whole week to prepare Payne. They hung around all night. They played inspired football. Granted, USC was sloppy. They made 12 penalties. They turned the ball over. But at the end of the day, they lost 42-28. You're giving me Arizona State with a guy who has got the team now. He's the guy coaching them. He's a young guy. He's fired up. He's getting 12.5 points against Cal. I mean, Cal is a 12.5 point. I mean,
Cal may not know what to do with that.
Color me silly. I mean, this is Cal. I'm going to take 12.5 points at Arizona State. I think last week's loss, the feistiness they played with can turn that season around now with a new young coach who's motivated, wants to win ball games. Not that every coach doesn't, but he's coaching for something, and he had those kids ready to play. Give me Arizona State plus 12.5. And then finally, Iowa State, you took them last week. I'm going against them this week.
All righty.
They're going to Oklahoma. And see, Oklahoma is not the normal Oklahoma. Usually they start near the top 10. This year they start at like 20-something, were they even ranked. They've got to start. They got to beat people up. They didn't do that last week. They played a very un-Oklahoma-like offensive game and beat Cincinnati 20-6. But that game was still in the balance early in the fourth quarter. I think they're going to see this number and circle it and say, we got to go out there and cover it and make a statement against an average Iowa State team. this game feels to me like 48-17 Oklahoma. It just feels like they go and throttle Iowa State.
I liked Oklahoma coming into the season. I liked what I've seen so far this year, last week notwithstanding. And yeah, I'm with you. They got to start, putting up points and knocking people around. So
yeah.
What's the number?
19.5. So we're going Colorado plus 21.5, Arizona State plus 12.5, and Oklahoma minus 19.5, which will roll us into the NFL. I'll